after you hear from him, you're all gonna wanna get on the Ringmaster. So he's gonna talk a little bit about the Ringmaster now. And then what he's gonna do is he's gonna bring us downstairs later and actually show us how it works in action. And I'm gonna give the floor to you, my friend.
Well, most of the stuff that you're seeing here is probably with the new saws that they have now, you might be able to do it here. The old saws at the other wood shop, you couldn't do what I've done here. And I don't show you how to do that. I can tell you, I'm gonna tell you tonight, give you some ideas of what we did, but what I teach is how to set the Ringmaster up. And in the process, we're cutting a bowl, which is gonna turn out to be, this is what you'll walk out of class with. Depending on how big the wood is. And I'll tell you how I would sand it, how I glue it together, so forth. I don't teach that. For us to go into teaching how to do these designs, you can imagine how long it would take to do that. A lot of this is experimented on our part. It started out, if you go on YouTube and look up Crazy Bowl, you'll see them making probably the Ringmaster, and they're just taking pieces of wood and they glue it together in a block, and there's no pattern to it. Now, if you make a block, something like this, it's even on both sides. Now, this is thicker, too thick to put on the Ringmaster. Anything you want to put on the Ringmaster should be 5/8 of an inch or thinner, and it should be 11 inches in diameter or smaller. Most of these were made, this one might have been even made with a 12-inch piece. It's kind of difficult to get it that big. That's why even now the instructions that come with a Ringmaster say 11 inches and 5/8 of an inch thick. We started out, our goal was to create this feather. And we spent probably 2 years trying to figure out how to do that, because all we have is a picture. Eventually, I came up with the idea that it was colored plywood. Connie Madale, the one I was working with, said no. I mean, she's in New York, so she says, no, that can't be. So I got some colored plywood and I made a small bowl, and here it is, and everyone after that had that. You would see some of the patterns come close to it. Now, this is just a board, maybe like that one. These are finished Ringmaster bowls. This is maple. This is maple. It's been dyed. You have to use, it has to be hard maple or harder, or you're going to get a lot of tear out. I've got techniques on how to glue this together, what steps to do to keep from sanding this and gouging out the bottom like you see them do on YouTube. To do something like this, I would take a board like this, and I'll cut it round. And I would usually make it thicker than this because we worked as a team, so I'm making at least 2 bowls out of it. But the process was, at the beginning of this, we want to slice this in 1/4 inch thicknesses. So the way I do it, I glue this to a angle plate, and I use a special blade, but whenever we started, we had to cut it on the table saw on each side, as far as we could go. Then we take it over to the band saw and finish slicing it through. Then you have to take the piece, you started out with a sanded surface here. You cut this with a saw, now you can lay this one aside right now, but you gotta take this back over, run it through the sander, get it flat again, go back, do the procedures on the saw each time you cut a slice off. Then you sand all of the slices to the same thickness. And then you glue them back together. Like on these bowls, each one of these is a ring on the Ringmaster. Each one of these is a 1/4 inch wafer. So whatever your bowl is, as you can see at the bottom of this, the design of the board before I started cutting on it. So you look at it and you decide, okay, if I move this ring over this far and this one over that far, you keep going down, and now you've got a board again that's got this pattern. Then you mount it on the Ringmaster and you cut your rings out of it, and it's got the same pattern, only smaller rings. Then you glue that together, offsetting each ring that much more. Then you come up with something like this. The hard part is to slice this stuff into the thin wafers and the work of sanding it and everything. Something like this was done on the router, 2 different boards. You'd end up with 2 bowls, and we took I don't know what they call this one. There's another one that I use, it's actually a corner router, and it has a pattern to it. But you do a walnut or whatever, 2 pieces, and then you glue it back together into your board, and then you cut it out, your rings out on the Ringmaster. This is just a board. This is, no, I forgot what it was. Yeah, mine went blank. Zebra wood. Both of these are made out of zebra wood, both of them on the Ringmaster, except for the bottom. The bottom is the leftovers from the corners that you cut off of the radius. On all of these pieces that have a hole in the middle, we save 1 corner, and you cut plugs, fill that hole with a plug. This one, I took the corners, glued them together, and then I turned it on the lathe. I put maybe 2 or 3 rings on there to get it started to work with, and then I could go in and do the bottom, and then later cut the other rings out, put them on there, and a special ring on top. So there's quite a bit of work into something like that. This is the idea that Connie had when she was in New York. She saw this and wanted to know if we could do it. And I said, I don't know. I know they do something like this. They run it through the planer and cut an angle on it and everything. She sat up there, went and bought the dollar store and went and bought sponges and sat there and cut up sponges until she could see how to do this, and then sent me a text, hey, we can do this. So it's not real hard to do, but you take 2 pieces of wood, stand them on end, and you run them through the saw from 1 corner to the other corner, and then you reverse them. Only with 2 different colors, you'd take that other piece and reverse it, and now cut it out on the Ringmaster, and you get this design. Another one that I played with that you really don't want to do is I wanted to make one with acrylic. I would do it different, but the trouble with acrylic is it's much softer than the wood. So when you start sanding it, you sand the acrylic away twice as fast as you do the wood. So it turned into a real one-of-a-kind project to get it all to come out even. This is what a wafer looks like. This is a leftover, it's thinner than I would normally work with. This was probably the most complicated one that I've done. And that turned into this bowl with the 4 feathers on it. Now, after you do these and you cut these wafers, I cut them up in 1/4 inches, so we're gonna have 4 wafers. Well, I'm always gonna cut extra wafers in case I mess one up. So after a while, they started piling up on us. So we came up with this idea. We take 1 wafer and glue it onto the board, and then we cut them on the Ringmaster. So for each wafer that we had left over, we get another bowl out of it. Everybody in my neighborhood has a bowl like this. Most of these are a lot of work. There's a lot of sanding involved, even in the simple one, to make it come out nice. So you gotta be a little bit mechanically inclined to set the machine up. Cause it has to be pretty exact. It has to be square. The wood has to be flat. So you have to go through the process of joining the wood, sanding the wood. Then you have to drill a hole through the middle square to the wood so that you can mount it. Right now, I think I've got one out there I sanded those maybe 3-4 months ago. And I drilled a hole in it a couple of days ago. And I don't think it's square with the wood right now. A little while. I don't think it'll show up, but I know it's there. That's the process that I go through is, once I have the wood and everything, but setting the Ringmaster up, everything has to be pretty precise, because if you make one mistake here and another mistake here, another mistake here, they add up till you end up with you get a bowl that looks something like this. And this was done on purpose, and you could do it on purpose if you wanted to, but if you don't have things lined up, that's what happens. They come off and a little bit out of line, and it turns into a lot more sanding. If you make everything just perfect, these rings sit on top, and it takes well, I won't say very little sanding, but not as much sanding if it's done correctly to start with. And I think that's about all I need to show you. The rest of it, we can go downstairs and, I've got the Ringmaster set up down there with a board in it, and we can actually cut. Yes?
I've heard people talk that when you make these bowls, if you take them to a different altitude sometimes, they come apart. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, a lot of your segmented bowls, not really the different altitude so much as, this happened a lot in the past when you didn't have climate control. I thought about that, bringing these in. I didn't bring these in the car. I brought them in on my trike. And
Oh, wow.
also sitting out, with all the heat and everything, I said, I hope the heat doesn't do anything. But, because they're always kept in a climate control environment, they don't move.
This person had made them here and sent them to somebody out west.
Yeah.
I guess that resulted from it.
Well, not only that, but just the process of sending them from here to there. And the difference in the heat and the humidity and everything can make a big difference.
It's interesting.
That's like with this Ringmaster, I do the class, and at the end of the class, you have this. And I tell you, if at all possible, get that glued up by tomorrow. Because if you wait 3 or 4 days, these will no longer be round. They'll be oval. Then you've got a mess.
Thank you.
And I think that's all that, if you got questions, I'll answer them, but otherwise I've pretty well gone through it. Oh, now, Debbie's got one bowl like this that she made,
Which I'm not taking out of my bag because it's not as pretty as the one talking.
and she's got a different one that, she made out of another pattern.
I did this with Tom, and you can see the board. Like how it was, I cut the corners off, put some, Paducah and there's a little bit of walnut in here. It's mostly maple, but you can see the design in there. So you can, and I'm gonna make you laugh. We talked about doing quilt patterns. And this is like the closest that I can think to that. But I didn't twist these at all. I laid them exactly perfectly straight. But the sides, because of the angle, you get the. So there's a lot out there. And they're not for the faint of heart. These are labor intensive. One of a kind, but labor intensive.
And the same way with the cuts, like on these two bowls, whenever I cut them, I've got these all lined up with the grain. Now, if you didn't want to do that, you could come up with a completely different pattern by rotating them or opposite grain or whatever. But kind of up to your imagination. All that I do is show you how to set the machine up and what the machine will do, and after that, it's all yours.
There is a cheat sheet in the box, though, the smart chart.
Well, yeah. How many of you watched the video? If you go on the website, the Wood Club website, under education, under videos, there's a video there. Now that's using the old Ringmaster. Basically, it's the same thing, only the new one is twice as heavy. Also, I don't know if we took it out of there or not, but we taught setting the cutter blades up, setting the angle up on them. There was a formula that we could use that made it kind of fast to do. Because originally the books, the manual that we got with the Ringmasters, the charts in there, the trick charts weren't accurate. Well, something has changed on this Ringmaster, and you can no longer use that formula. You have to use the book and look up the thickness of the wood to get the angle to set the blades at. So if any of you run across the old Ringmaster books, it's going to have the formula all over in there. You can't use it. But the book that's with the Ringmaster has the chart in there. And when we're down there, I'll show you the differences between the new one and the old one. I don't know why, but
I was gonna say, just show them the one you want them to use.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, but they need to know what the other ones are, so they don't use it. So with that, I guess we could go downstairs and,
Okay. Quick question, are there other classes other than the Ringmaster class to take to be able to do it, or are there other prerequisites?
well, the prerequisites are, you're gonna have to know how to prepare your board. So you're gonna have to probably know how to use a joiner. You're gonna have to know how to use a sander, the bandsaw, the drill press. All of that is all involved in making this bowl.
But no other class is a requirement.
There's a, E100
Oh, right. I did read
Because if you can't do any of that stuff, then
Yeah.
what's the point of making,
Right.
you know?
that. Right.
And there are multiple ways to get P100. The other one I think on there is A010. You have to know enough about the lathe to. operate the lathe. Yeah, A010,
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I think just those two. Tom.
Yeah.
So-
No, it's not a turning part.
Now, you could make these thicker and turn them, like I turned part of that
Used to
bowl, I
be.
turned the bottom of it and the top of it. But I'm a turner. If I glued something like this together. I'm not gonna try turning this is like shrapnel. Maybe there, I'm not saying you couldn't, but, that's the purpose of the Ringmaster is you don't have to. I have no desire to try to turn something like this with 10,000 pieces in it. One bad glue joint in there and it's gonna go. Okay,
Any other questions? Awesome, let's go downstairs.
Did we gonna do any show and tell before we go downstairs, if there was any?
Did anyone bring show and tell? Let's finish this, and then if you bring show and tell, why don't you bring it downstairs with you?
if I was making that bowl, I probably wouldn't go. I mean, I could, but just for my own purposes, I probably wouldn't want to make it different. When you go to take this off, you don't want to try to hold this and turn these. These can be awful sharp edges. But there's your bowl.